Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Minister, I think this budget really could be categorised by a continuation really of your policies, which could be equated to a Robin Hood in reverse type situation, where you continue to rob from the poor and ordinary people in order to further enrich those at the tops of Irish society. And what could have been an opportunity really to level the playing field and begin to eat into some of the rising inequality that we've seen in this state over the past number of years, and accelerated actually during your terms of office, has been an opportunity wasted, an opportunity for ye to further enrich those at the top to the detriment of everybody else. And not only is that bad for citizens on social welfare, for that growing group of the working poor, it's actually criminally irresponsible in terms of the cost to our society going forward into the future. And I agree with the analysis of the budget put forward by John Douglas of Mandate, who said that this budget was a highly regressive budget which redistributes wealth from the lowest paid to the highest earners. That's an absolute fact. A worker earning €70,000 a year will be better off, thanks to this government, to the tune of €750. A low-paid worker on €15,000 has only been compensated by €105. And it's important to say that that is before the introduction of water charges, which I'll deal with in a minute. Social Justice Ireland made the point that this is the fourth regressive budget in a row, that it's actually widened the gap between rich and poor by the tune of about €500 per year. They make the point that between 2008 and 2015, the budget changes in tax and social welfare have impacted mostly on two groups: welfare-dependent households, who've lost over 12% of their income, and the working poor, who've lost 13% of their income. And because this budget didn't prioritise those groups, it's actually had a dramatic effect in worsening that situation. I just want to account two of those cases of people in those categories who've been in touch with me. And the first one is from a constituent of mine who basically says she spends more than 50% of her income on rent. And she starts by saying she's 47 years old with two children. She said, "I've been working full-time in Ireland since entering the country. I feel like I'm walking against walls. After paying rent, electric and bus to work, I have €500 for 3 people. I can't get rent supplement because I work 40 hours. I can't get one parent supplement because I earn too much, even though I only earn €450 per week. We were not able to heat our house for the last 3 years, and I won't be heating it this year. I have to pay everything when it comes to school, and of course now there's the water charges. All of that out of €500 monthly net income to be divided between 3 people. She says, now I have to sub-rent 2 rooms in order to have the money for school or simple things like school or like shoes for my children. I don't want to do this. I'd like my family home to be my family home." Another woman who went on to say, "I can't afford to give anymore. I can't afford to be scared anymore. I'd really love the government to come and live off our earnings. We've no loans, but we just can't manage." And she went on to say, "I'm fed up with managing. Both of us go out to work. We should be able to see something good from our wages." But the reality is that people aren't. They're getting up earlier, they're working longer for less wages than they did years ago, and the cost of living is rising. And the government missed an opportunity to target those families. And to me, that's an absolute disgrace. And I mean, I haven't even started by dealing with the water charges, but we have to bring them in to that context, because even the few crumbs that she threw at people are going to be massively wiped out by the water charges. And nobody is taken in by this idea that you're going to cobble together some magic solution in the next 2 weeks, which are going to keep the bills low, maybe to get you to limp on to the next general election, and then everybody knows they will skyrocket after that. Nobody is going to be bought by that logic. And what people are drawing the lesson of, which has been pointed out, is The government and the Taoiseach has consistently said he needs money to invest in Irish water. That is why, to invest in our water infrastructure. That is why the charges are there. And he talks about taking a couple of $100 million, maybe with the concessions now it might be gone down to $300 million, out of the pockets of householders to do that. But he's masking the fact that in this budget alone, $400 million has been given back to the high earners in our society in this budget, in tax concessions and payback. So, if you like, instead of enriching the rich in the recent budget, you could have nullified the whole basis for the water charges to begin with. And I think that's bad enough on the one end, and the analysis has been given, and Deputy Wallace mentioned Michael Taft, but he showed the fact that the top 17% of earners got tax cuts to the tune of about $400 million, courtesy of this government. What other conclusion could you draw? That it's the hard-pressed homeowners who are paying for water charges who are paying for that tax concession. There is no other explanation of that, because we already pay for our water. The $1.2 billion, largely sweated off the backs of Irish taxpayers to our water infrastructure, is paid by people already. The setting up of Irish Water cost $640 million. That was money paid twice by Irish taxpayers, again through our property tax, through our pension fund, monies that we'd already paid handed over to Irish Water. So now we're paying twice. Now you want us to pay water charges again, 3 times, and then the big carrot that's supposed to be out of that is that that money will be used so that Irish Water will borrow money so that we can pay that back again, paying 4 times. It's absolutely and utterly lunatic. Could we get the money elsewhere? Well, you only have to look at the front headlines in the newspapers today about the activities of the multinational sector and the corporations to know that that is the case. Not only do we have the fact that the government gave back $95 million to corporations in the recent budget, we know we have one of the lowest corporation tax rates in Europe. That rate is not even implemented, and we see supposedly gilt-edged reputable companies consciously organising their tax affairs so that they can avoid paying tax in this country. There's a direct link between that situation, between an erosion of our public services and between the government's decision to make ordinary householders meet that deficit. If they even paid the effective rate of corporation that's there, again being one of the lowest in Europe, this state would have about $2.5 billion extra to play around with every year. More than enough to invest in a proper water infrastructure system. More than enough to improve all of the benefits. More than enough to deal with those on the bottom. But ye chose not to do that, and instead of protecting citizens, have consciously used this government or used this budget to protect those at the top. I think it's incredibly unfortunate that the government hasn't taken positive initiatives to encourage investment, and the points made by Deputy Wallace on that score I totally agree with. To me, it's a crime. We have billions of euros of Irish citizens' money in pension funds being invested abroad. Now, they are private pension funds, and you say the government can't control private money. We can't direct them what to do. No, there's not, but we can encourage them what to do. And we have a tax system here which benefits high earners in tax breaks for pensions, manipulating and working that pension tax benefit system in order to encourage them, or linking the benefits to investment at home in Ireland, would encourage those pension funds to invest in Ireland. And it's only really by putting people to work on some of the massive programmes of infrastructural deficit that's needed here that we will transform the economy, get more people back to work in a serious way, not 0-hour contract, part-time, rubbish jobs or jobs bridge that this government has stood over, but real jobs that would actually transform the economy. And I think it's a little bit rich listening to lectures about how we need to conserve water when this government has been in power for 4 years, and as far as I know, you haven't put a single water butt onto into a government building not to mind investing in a proper system of rainwater harvesting, for example, on every single government building, on a programme of grants that people could remediate their houses to cut down on their water consumption and so on. All activities which could bring people back to work, improve the buoyancy of our economy, and activities that could be done with enticing some of those pension funds to invest at home. But again, of course, another wasted opportunity, and I would say it's completely regrettable. The facts speak for themselves. The rich have been made richer at the expense of ordinary citizens, but thankfully people have seen through that. They're up off their knees, and they certainly won't be taken.